These are in listen-only mode.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to day two. This is our second session of Magnetic Marketing for Coaches. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for investing this next a few minutes, hours that we're going to be together in empowering yourself in learning some new strategies. I'm so excited about Sean Smith, who is going to be guiding us through this process. Sean is one of the most highly sought after international speakers out there, so much so that we here at Motivating the Masses and the Lisa Nichols Company, we're so impressed with him and what he's created out in the world. He has produced over 500 of his own articles and videos and audio programs, ranging in topics everything from sales to recruiting to leadership to overcoming obstacles, to staying motivated, and really just all aspects of our human behavior. I've personally not only had the pleasure of working with him, but also being trained by him. And as a coach myself, and just listening to his techniques and seeing how he applies them as he is coaching his clients has changed not only my perception of me as a coach, but also how I serve my clients and the families and the teams that I connect with and help to support to their next level. See, Sean has not only built his own company and really truly built it from scratch, but in that time, he earned over $300,000 in a period of 18 months, which, if you know and spend any time in business, you know that's almost nearly unheard of. So tonight, I want to acknowledge you for stepping into the space. I want to say thank you for joining. You are in amazing hands by this coach who's about ready to step on board with us. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to you our leader for this next period of time that we're going to be together, Mr. Sean Smith. Sean.
Awesome, Matt. Hey, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. Am I coming through okay, Matt, to you?
Yeah, you sound good. I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matt, so much for that incredible introduction. I really appreciate you. I love who you are in the world and how you show up. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And welcome to all of you. This is, again, as Matt said, part 2 of the Magnetic Marketing for Coaches series. And you should be able to see my slides right now. It's got a picture of me and it's got the title Magnetic Marketing. If you can see my slides, then I want you to type into the control panel. There's a place for you to answer questions. I want you to type in there, type in jellyfish. If you can see my slides, there you go, jellyfish. I see a bunch of jellyfishes. We were actually in Hawaii just a couple days ago, and there was a jellyfish warning. So back there, I didn't want to see any jellyfish, but right now I like all the jellyfish that I'm seeing. So thank you guys for confirming that. If you missed part 1, unfortunately, we were having a challenge with the recording, so I'll see if I can still get that to you. But never fear, don't worry about it. You don't have to have been on part 1 in order to get enough information here in part 2. They do kind of stand alone. They're certainly, the topics certainly go together, but you are just fine if you're now joining us for the first time in part 2. And what we're going to do today on this webinar is we're going to talk about the marketing side of building a multiple six-figure coaching business. On the other webinar, we really talked about the skill set that's required to become confident, to have the certainty, to have the magnetic energy that you need before you step into the world of marketing. So that is a foundational piece. It's actually more important to do first than everything that we're talking about today. But today, we're going to talk about what most people are looking for, which is how do I actually market? What do I do to get out there and sell my products? How do I create a community? How do I build, an infrastructure, a platform, etc.? So all of that is really, really important as long as you have the foundational piece behind it, right? So one mistake that I think a lot of coaches make, I know a lot of coaches make, is that they jump into the marketing too early. They jump out there before they really understand who they are, before they have a connection to their crowd, to themselves, to their message, etc. And marketing out of order is dangerous. Once you're ready to market, though, there are certain things that you absolutely have to do. And what I am a big fan of is simplifying things, right? So on this webinar, I want to really simplify your marketing journey. And what we're going to talk about is not even all of these steps that you now see on your screen. That's just a little bit, that's topic and content for a little bit more time than we have together. I'm going to do a full on group coaching program later on where I'm going to take you through all these steps. This is a 10, 12, 14-hour piece of content. But tonight, what I'm going to do is simplify it into three main pieces. And those three main pieces are messaging, marketing, and multiplying. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to tell you a little bit more about my journey. Not because I want to toot my own horn, but I want to give you some context of who I am and why I say some of the things that I say, where I'm coming from. I think if you understand how deeply passionate I am, or if you understand where I came from and some of the mistakes that I made, etc., then you'll understand how deeply passionate I am about some of the things that I'll be teaching you. So I want to go through my 10-year journey real quick, as fast as I can for you, just to give you some of that context and so you know a little bit about who I am inside this coaching industry. In 2005, I had a monster breakthrough at a personal development event where I realized that I had been holding myself back for my entire life because I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was adequate. I didn't think I could ever succeed. I had these limiting beliefs, this negative head talk going on about what I can accomplish and what I can't accomplish. And because of that, my fears were outweighing my dreams and my goals. And so I was always holding myself back. And many of you are in that boat. Most people have a limiting belief around who they are and what they can accomplish in life. And it's that limiting belief that actually determines their level of success. It's not skill set. It's not how smart you are. It's not how much hard work you put in. It's your own ceiling of success. You have a money blueprint, you have a success blueprint, you have identities that really determine what you will allow or not allow in your life, whether you'll tolerate massive levels of success or you won't. So I wasn't tolerating massive levels of success back then until I cleaned and cleared myself away from this limiting belief. And that was a gigantic breakthrough. And I decided I want to teach this stuff to a lot of other people, whoever will listen. So in 2006, I decided I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a speaker. And in February, I held my first event. And at that time, it was focused on athletes. It was how to maximize your athletic ability. But what happened was about 25 women who sell Mary Kay Cosmetics, a cosmetics direct sales company, they showed up at this event. And I didn't know them and they didn't know me. I don't know why they showed up to an athletic event, but they showed up. And after the event, they came up to me and they said, we would love for you to teach us some of this stuff too, because some of this really relates to us. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way I'm doing that. I want to teach athletes. That was in February. Well, the next 2 months passed. Nothing was really happening in the athletic world, even though that's what I decided was where I was going to make my mark. And so in April of that year, I decided, all right, I'll do this one thing for this Mary Kay crowd, and then I'll be done with them. So they'll finally shut up, right? And so I do this event in April of 2006, and I fell in love. And they liked me. It was a man talking to a women's organization. So there were a lot of things going on that was cool. I was outside the company. And that's when I hit my first clicking point. And a lot of times what will happen in coaching is if you're obedient to your calling, your message and your market and your seekers will call you. Most coaches have identified who it is that they want to teach to, what they want to teach. And if you're teaching from your own perspective, it can be dangerous. But if you pay attention and you're in it for the right reasons, a lot of times your market will call you. So that's what happened to me. This market called me. And then in 2007, I got really smart and I decided to just focus on this one particular crowd. And I launched a brand called the Pink Caddy Coach. And if you know anything about Mary Kay, the symbol of success in that company is the pink Cadillac. So I decided I was going to market myself as the Pink Caddy Coach. And during those first, during that year of 2007, we earned over $270,000 in that 12-month period of time. And if you attach that to the first 6 months, or rather the last 6 months of me really opening my doors, so to speak, we did well over $302,000 in the first 18 months. And the majority of that was on the back end of 2007. And I'm going to show you numbers here in a moment and show you the trajectory and everything that looked like. And I don't say this to, again, toot my own horn or to get you excited with promises or anything like that. I just want you to learn from my journey so that you can pull something out that's really meaningful for you. Now, I did really well in 2007. My ego got involved. I decided I want to do $1 million next year in 2008. And so in 2008, I changed my model. And not only did I change my model, I decided I'm bigger than Mary Kay. I don't want to only focus on those people because I want to focus on everybody now. And so I made the crucial mistake of releasing my clear focus on who my seeker was and then trying to teach everybody, trying to talk to everybody. And it was a critical error that I made. Our business plummeted. Our revenue went down to $200,000, and that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but not when you're coming from over $300,000 and you've got all these expenses tied to the revenue coming in, and I was totally ignorant when it comes to business, when it comes to finances. So I didn't keep any of that money. I just kept spending stuff, and so I tell you all of my mistakes in transparency so that you cannot repeat them, right? And I made these big mistakes in 2008. I unplugged from a lot of the income that I had coming in, and then our business started to implode. I started to plug the holes in the leaking boat instead of keeping my foot on the gas. And I know I'm kind of crossing analogies there, but I didn't stay aggressive going forward. I started to retreat. I stopped. I stopped as many of the expenses that I could. I fired a lot of my coaches. I stopped going to masterminds, and I was just trying to plug the holes in my company, and that didn't work. In 2009, it just kept spiraling down, and I ended up filing bankruptcy. Now, I don't have any problem sharing with you on a webinar that's touted to teach you how to do well in business. I don't have any problem sharing with you that I had to file bankruptcy. And it's because of the mistakes that I made, and I want to be totally open with you on the mistakes that I made, so hopefully my bankruptcy can help you avoid bankruptcy for yourself. Now, what happened was during that time, I really had to look inside and figure out, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to be remembered? What kind of legacy do I want to live? And I needed that period, which was almost 2 full years of financial ruin. I needed that period for me to look at myself and come face to face with my own demons, with my own limiting beliefs, with what does money actually mean? And how can I be of value? Who am I as a father? Who am I as a husband? I needed to face all these things for myself. And the universe really had to pull the rug from underneath me because I wasn't going to face these things during the middle of this huge income producing wave, right? So that was my journey. Now, hopefully that's not your journey. Hopefully you don't need to go through almost 2 years of pain to learn a lot of these mistakes, or avoid rather the mistakes and learn some of these lessons. But I had to. So finally in 2010, I decided to do what worked, and I relaunched the Pink Caddy brand. And then we started to right the ship. We started to make a significant revenue again. In 2011, we did 240,000. 2012, we did 270,000. So we started to grow. 2013, we did 320,000. 2014, I really figured some things out, and I created a lot of leverage and scalability, and we did over $504,000 of revenue. And then in 2015, what happened is Lisa Nichols and Motivating the Masses came in, and they said, we like what you've got going on. We want to acquire you as a company. We want you to create this coaching division, something that we've never had before. And so here we are. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a context in my journey. Obviously, there are a lot of details inside of all these areas that I don't have time, to go deeper onto in this webinar. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Speaking of that, if you do have questions, go ahead and type them into your control panel as we're going along. I tend to talk fast and I tend to get on a roll, so I generally don't answer the questions as they come in, or if I do see the question, I might allude to it, but I'll say, okay, hang on a second, or let's answer that during the Q&A session. I'll do it as much as I can to answer your questions during the Q&A session if I don't get to them during the presentation, but go ahead and continue to type them in there as we move along. So that's my journey. I use all of that information to share with you some of the biggest mistakes that I made and some of the biggest good decisions that I made, right? So I'm going to show you a few screenshots here. These are actual screenshots. I don't know how big they are in your screen, so I apologize if the font's a little bit too small. I'm going to see. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Actually, it doesn't look like I can. So I'm not sure how to make this a little bigger. I apologize if the font's a little bit too small, but I just wanted to show you a couple of the key turning points in my business. So you can see from September to October, I started to advertise online. Now back then there wasn't Facebook or Twitter or any of social media really to speak of. So I was just doing Google advertising. I had a very small niche market of Mary Kay ladies. Most of them are not on Google, but it's still pretty much tripled my business when I got online. And then obviously I expanded my influence, right? So it's incredibly important to expand your platform according to your model, whatever that is. And then in January of 2007, I was doing pretty well, kind of cruising along for 4 months after doing the online marketing. And then between January and February is when I decided to do my own seminars. So instead of speaking at other people's events where I only had an hour or an hour and a half and I could only say certain things and I couldn't, go against what their beliefs were or whatever, no matter what I believed to be true, I was kind of restricted in what I had to say. So I decided, well, I just want to do my own events then. And therefore I can control the content. I can control what I sell. And I can have 8 hours with people instead of 90 minutes with people. So I have more time, I have more influence, etc. And my income really exploded right away, doubled the income pretty much overnight when I started doing my own live events. And then in April of 2007, I started to offer higher ticket private coaching programs. And I started to sell packages instead of one on one. For the first about 18 months or so of my business, I actually, probably for the first 12 months or so of my business, I was 10 months, I don't know. But up until that time, I was selling basically a lot of one on one individual but monthly coaching packages, right? So I would sell people 2 hours and they would, invest $200 or $300. And at the time, I was happy because I was making money, but then I had to resell them every single month and it became difficult. What I found was that when people were only toe dipping and they were just committing to a little tiny bit of effort, they weren't as invested as they need to be in order to do well with coaching. So I started to sell 4-month coaching packages and I started to charge a lot more. Now back then, actually, I started to sell 6-month coaching back then, and it was $2,500 a month. I'm sorry, $2,500 total for 6 months of coaching. And that was a lot of money for me. It was a lot of money for them to pay. But what happened was I started attracting committed people. And one of the mistakes that a lot of coaches make is they bend over backwards too much and they make the bar so low for people to say yes to coaching that they attract a lot of people who are not committed. And trust me, even though every fiber of your being is wanting you to just make money and get people into your coaching programs, you're going to spend a lot of energy if you keep attracting uncommitted people. So you want to sell longer term coaching packages. People are not going to run from a 6-month commitment, but you have to be bold enough to say, this is what's going to work for your best interest. So my coaching is a 6-month commitment and it's whatever number of dollars, you want to charge. And the number of dollars you want to charge really is determined by your market. It's determined by your seeker. A lot of people can only sell, 6 months of coaching for $1,000 because that's what their market will pay. And some people can sell 6 months of coaching literally for $100,000 because that's what their market will pay. So I don't want you to price your coaching based on how much how many hours. I don't even want you to worry about hourly coaching whatsoever, because you don't want people to be thinking about your coaching in terms of hourly rates, right? Because people are out there making $15, $20, $30, $40 an hour. And if you're charging $75 an hour, they tend to think, well, that's way more than I even make working an hour, so that's not worth it to me. They start thinking dollars for hours instead of dollars for outcomes. And you want them to be thinking dollars for outcomes. So in your coaching packages, you want to sell outcomes, not hours. and you want to make it a long-term commitment. I promise you, even though intellectually you might think that's going to be harder to sell, I promise you it's way easier to sell long-term commitments at higher dollar amounts to the right people than it is to just attract anybody who has money to to just get them in as a client. I promise you. Okay. All right. So the next thing, let's see. Let me scan these questions. I'm a certified coach. How can I start getting paid clients? I'm going to go over that in a little bit. Laureen, hang on a second. I've been doing that. Awesome, Leslie. We can enlarge it by touch screen. Okay, so she's talking about enlarging it. All right, great. So I'm going to get into how do you actually start attracting clients, what I suggest you do. And then the final thing I want to share with you is I started to offer a 3-day event on top of my 1-day event. And at the 3-day event, for the first time in September of 2007, I started offering my coaching at the 3-day event. Now, I hadn't done that before because I figured anybody who spent 3 days with me, it's like I've given them everything that I got. There's nothing more that I can coach you on because we just went over it all in 3 days, right? And so I wouldn't even offer the coaching at the 3-day event. And then finally I had about 25 people at a 3-day event, and I decided I might as well just test it out and see what happens if I offer 3 days. If I offer coaching to 3-day attendees. And I figured if I can get 2 or 3 people, that's great. Out of 25 people, I had 20 that wanted to do coaching with me. And I think maybe 16 or 17 of them actually stuck, but like 20 people registered on the spot, filled out the form for this 6-month coaching program. And I was blown away. So here's what I want you to know. The further along people go with you, the more they want to keep going. And I thought it would be the opposite. I thought the more the further along they went, they would realize they don't have a whole lot more to learn, but it's actually the opposite. The further along they go with you, the more they want to keep going. So don't ever underestimate the power of continuing to offer more and more things as people are in your community. Now, this is not about just trying to get money out of their wallets. You've got to be in it for the right reasons, and you've got to be offering them things that you truly believe are going to change their life. But you've got to understand that as people get into your programs, as they coach with you, as they go through your materials, they're going to want to keep going, assuming that they like it. They're going to want to keep going. So when you design your campaigns, I want you to think about what's the long-term value and how can you continue to create revenue, and from a business perspective, but from a service perspective, how can you continue to create more life-changing opportunities for your clients? Don't do what I did at the beginning, which was just think that they've had enough of me, right? So the more that they experience with you, the more they're going to want to keep going. So then let's get into these 3 phases. The first phase I mentioned earlier, these 3 phases are messaging, marketing, and multiplying. The first phase is messaging. Now, when you are at the beginning of your business, you have to spend the majority of your time on messaging because that's the foundational piece. Too many coaches jump into marketing and then they think that they can multiply and start doing, 6-figure launches and stuff, and they haven't spent enough time on messaging. And this is a foundational stage. You've got to be internal, you've got to be introspective, you got to do a lot of market research, you got to do a lot of contemplating, you've got to do a lot of seeking yourself, right? And you have to have the right mindset. So the whole idea of messaging is you want to create irresistible communication. You don't want to show up like a salesperson. You don't want to tell them what you want to sell them. You need to create irresistible communication that magnetizes your seeker. Now, again, part 1 of the webinar was all about, or a lot of it was on your abilities as a coach so that you have boldness in your communication and you can tell people how you can help them. But you've got to understand who it is that you're talking to and what they want. And the way to do that is to identify your seeker with 100% clarity. So I think it was Laureen who asked, how can I start getting paid clients? I'm talking to you right now, Laureen. This is exactly what I suggest you do. Oh, somebody says, how important are certifications? That's a brilliant question. Let me address that a little bit later. If I don't think of it to come back to it, Arissa, I'll do it in the Q&A session. So what you need to do is you need to identify your seeker with 100% clarity. Now, your seeker is that person out there who is seeking you. It's not the person that you want to sell to. It's the person who's already searching for the message that you have inside of you. And I believe that every single one of you on the line, myself included, every single one of us who's a coach has somebody out there who needs you to step forward. You're the only one that they're going to listen to because you're the unique voice that they need to hear. And when you spend time, ample time, enough time focusing on who that person is with as much clarity as possible, now your business is going to start going in the right direction. You're not going to be marketing from your ego's perspective or your perspective. You're going to be marketing from a service to your seeker. And what you want to do is this next bullet here, the third bullet, is the most critical marketing mindset I think there is if you do it the right way. You want to enter the conversation that's already happening in their heads. I want that to land. You need to enter the conversation that's already happening in their heads. Don't try to change the conversation. Enter the one that's already there. Now, the only way that you can find out what conversation is in their heads is by identifying who your seeker is with as much clarity as you possibly can. When you do that, people will not just understand you, they'll know that you understand them. And people will buy when they know that you understand them, because then they'll trust that you can help them. So I want you to really get the foundational stage that's so critical before you even get out there and start putting up websites and jump on social media and all that kind of stuff. Now, one of the things that I deal with all the time, I dealt with it personally and I deal with it with my clients all the time, is that people who just want to help everybody, right? They're like, my content can help everybody. I want to talk to parents, and I want to talk to plumbers, and I want to talk to athletes, and I want to talk to stay-at-home moms, and I want to talk to entrepreneurs because I have stuff that can help everybody under the sun. Awesome. Okay. You can help everybody. Great. But you can't talk to everybody. That's the problem, right? Even if your stuff can help people, you can't talk to everybody. You have to talk to people one at a time, because when you have that kind of focus in your one-on-one conversations, that will create attraction. You will attract people that you're not actually even speaking directly to, but they'll be attracted by the focus in your language. It's like when you're at a party and there's a bunch of people talking, a lot of times there's a specific voice that you're attracted to. Even though they're not talking to you, you just get attracted to that voice and it draws you in and you want to hear a little bit more about what they're saying. That kind of energy is created, but only when you have clear focus in your communication. As soon as you try to talk to more than one person at once, you have to open up your focus to try to capture both people. And if you're trying to speak to 5 people at once, you have to open up your focus more. And the more you open up your focus to try to attract more people, the less attractive you are. And I know that's counterintuitive, but it's the truth. So it's the energy in your language that's really important. Now, a lot of people go, well, I don't want to just turn my back on people. Understand, you're not ignoring these different seekers. You're not ignoring people. You're not saying you're never going to help them. You're just putting them in order. You're saying, first, I'm going to help this person, and then next, I'm going to help that person, but I'm not going to help that person until I figure out how to help this person. And one of the things that's so critical in a coaching business is that you remove as many variables as possible. So you have to learn a lot about building a business, about selling, about marketing, about emailing, about your customer platform, about just your own personal patterns in business, there's so many things that you have to learn that I don't want you to try to learn that and juggle a bunch of different markets at the same time. So I'm all about the removal of as many variables as possible, and then you can add more variables in once you figure this piece out with as few variables as possible, okay? Now, with your seeker, one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is they struggle with trying to identify the correctness around their seeker. I'm going to explain a little bit more about your seeker in a moment, but I want to give you this context even before we get to the details. It's not about identifying your seeker with accuracy. It's about identifying your seeker with clarity, with enough clarity to just get it going. You don't have to get it right. You don't have to get it accurate. You just have to have enough clarity to get going. And that'll make sense here in a little bit. So with your seeker, you want to just study them as much as you possibly can, right? You want to study them. You want to find things out like, what is it that they actually want? What is it that they buy? That's critically important. So many coaches decide, I want to sell this mastermind. I want to sell this audio program. I want to sell one-on-one coaching. I want to sell this widget. I want to sell this audio product, whatever. And they don't even know if their seeker, first of all, they don't have an identity of who their seeker is. And they don't know if that's something that people will buy. I mean, it doesn't matter if what you have is valuable. What matters is if they're going to buy it. And if they're going to buy it, then what you have is valuable. But if nobody's going to buy it, then I don't care what kind of Nobel Peace Prize information, world-changing, life-changing, incredible content you have. If nobody buys it, your information is useless. Therefore, it's not valuable. So you've got to figure out what people are going to buy. And you can only do that if you understand their perspective. You also want to know things like, what are they afraid of? If you understand their fears, then you can speak to their fears. What pains do they have? What pain are they living with right now? What pain will they be living with in 2 years from now if they don't take action on what it is that you want to help them with? And ultimately, here's the best question you can identify. What will they write a blank check for? What will they write a blank check for? This is so critical. If you can find out what your seeker is so desperate to attract that they'll write a blank check for, then what you have to sell is easy. But until you can identify what your seeker actually ultimately wants, your marketing is going to be very, very difficult. Now, it takes time to figure out who your seeker is, to figure out their perspective, but it's worth it. It might feel like you're going slow, but trust me, it will build momentum that could cause your business to be like a rocket as soon as you figure out this component, and as soon as you hit that clicking point, right? So you want to figure out ultimately what will they write a blank check for, and that's how you title your programs. That's how you market your programs. That's the content that you teach inside their programs, because now you've entered the conversation that's going on inside their head. So hopefully this is making a lot of sense. I know there's a lot of comments and questions in the chat session here. So I apologize if I'm not, addressing all of your questions. I'm gonna stick around for a Q&A session, and maybe I'll answer a lot of your questions before we even get to the Q&A session. So that's the context of your seeker. Now I actually have a 4-page, I think it's 4-page, maybe 3 or 4-page document on your seeker. And what you want to do is you actually want to interview people who you've identified are probably your seekers. So if you think you want to help, single moms find passion in their lives, then go out and find yourself some single moms and interview them. And try to get into their head, try to get into that conversation, try to get their perspective, find out what they're afraid of, find out what their pain is, find out what they'll write a blank check for, find out what they buy, all of that stuff. Now, this is just, about 2/3 of the first page. This is more about the demographics, about, what are the details on your seeker. And again, it's not important that you find accuracy, because a lot of people really struggle with saying, well, I don't want to just deal with my seeker who is a single mom with 2 kids and lives in the suburbs, and she's a non-voting liberal. Like, who cares if she votes, and who cares if she's liberal? Remember, it really doesn't matter if she's liberal, and it doesn't matter if she votes or not. And it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things if she lives in the suburbs or if she lives in the city. But what matters is that you have a very clear picture of a single person. So please hear me. I could spend an hour on this piece alone, because it's one of the biggest resistances for people. It was for me too. But please trust me. Remember, the reason I filed bankruptcy is because I stopped speaking to a single person. That's why I'm passionate about this. I stopped speaking to a single person, and for 2 years I struggled. And that's after I made over $300,000 in the first year and a half. I had a lot of things going well for me. Now, because I made so much money, because I figured out what worked in the first year and a half of my business, I had something to fall back on. Most people don't have that first year and a half that I had. Their year 1 is my year 2. So all they do is struggle for the first couple years, and then they end up quitting. So please hear me. Hear where I'm coming from. My struggles started when I stopped speaking to a single person. When I, out of my ego, decided that I want to talk to more than one person at once, that's when everything fell to the ground. Now, this might be counterintuitive. You might decide that everybody that you follow, Lisa Nichols, Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, none of them are speaking to a specific person, but every single one of them started speaking to a specific person. Lisa Nichols started speaking to teenagers in just the inner cities of Los Angeles. You might see her now. You see her on the Today Show. You see her on the Steve Harvey Show. You see her that she's, the company's called Motivating the Masses. You see that she's motivating tons of people from all over the world, from all walks of life. But that's not where she started. And she would tell you she spent 10 years focusing on a specific niche. The idea is to get rich in your niche. She spent 10 years focusing on a specific niche, figuring out how to run a business, identifying all the things that she needed to figure out when her variables were small, and then the world called her to a bigger stage. Tony Robbins started out by only teaching people how to get rid of their phobias. In the very beginning of his career, that's all he was trying to do. From the stories that I've heard, at least in the books that I've read, that's all he was trying to do. Now, the world has called him to a much bigger stage, but not in the very beginning. So please don't make the mistake that a lot of people make by trying to emulate the people that you see that are 20 years into this game. That is a critical mistake. I want you to follow what they did year 1 if that's where you are. I want you to follow what they did year 3 if that's what you are. Don't try to jump ahead of where you are. Otherwise, you're going to struggle mightily. So my advice is that you pick a seeker, you identify them with as much clarity as you possibly can. You get to know them, you get on the phone with them, you take them out to lunch, take them out to breakfast, and figure out what conversation is going on inside their head. If you think you're too big to do this, if you think this isn't important enough, I can promise you'll struggle. I can promise you. Just the very fact that you think it's not worth your time to study the person you're trying to serve, first of all, I think that's egregious. I think, how dare you try to serve somebody that you don't understand? How dare you try to serve me, try to help me if you don't understand me? So if you have resistance to studying your seeker, you're going to fail anyway because you're not coming from the right place. But if you do have that heart that you understand, you want to really study the people so that you can help them more instead of teaching them from your ego and your perspective, then you're coming from the right place and you can do incredible things in this business. So that's what I want you to do. Now, I have this document that is much bigger than what I was able to go over right now. And if you want this document, I'm gonna teach you how to get it. I'm gonna give you a way to get it at the end of the webinar. So stick around towards the end of the webinar, and I'm going to tell you how you can get your free complimentary version of this document. I'll just get it to you, but you got to stick around to the end. That's my dangling carrot. So now, once you do a lot of this work, and there's much more to the foundational piece, but there's only so much I can go over in an hour's worth of content here. Once you get into that understanding of who your seeker is, now you can start to market a little bit. Now, marketing is, in my opinion, is kind of a misunderstood concept for a lot of coaches, because coaches don't even like the idea of sales and marketing. So they're coming after it with internal conflicts, and they're coming after it, which is the right mindset, the wrong mindset and the wrong goals and the wrong outcomes, right? Marketing is really nothing more than communicating with your seeker. That's all it is. It's communicating with your seeker and letting them know about content that you have, letting them know about the free stuff they can consume, and inviting them to make purchases. I mean, that's pretty much what marketing is, knowing that if they make purchases and they get deeper into your content, then you can help them change their lives even more. If you can get clear with your own energy around messaging and marketing, then you're going to be good. You're going to be fine. But when you haven't cleared yourself of your own conflict around marketing, then it's going to be very challenging. So let me teach you as simple of terms and concepts that I possibly can, what marketing is, conceptually. I'm not going to go into how to do a 6-figure launch. I'm not going to go into how to do Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, because honestly, I don't know how to do that for you, because I don't know who your seeker is. Your seeker might not even be on Facebook. So Facebook ads is a waste of time. Your seeker might be offline. Your seeker might be reading newspapers still. So you need to be where they are. Don't try to go where other people are that are serving different seekers. Figure out where your seeker is. Once you figure it out, again, find out what it is that they want and then give it to them. Like, these are the 3 components of marketing. These are the 3 components of marketing simplified in its basic form. Where are they? What do they want? Give it to them. Where are they? What do they want? Give it to them. Period. And what they want might not even be what you ultimately or what you originally wanted to teach. You have to be okay with that. I want you to imagine that your content is like inside this big room, and let's say there are 3 different doors that lead into this room. Your job as a marketer, your job as a coach, is what sign can I hang on those doors that's going to cause my seeker to come into this room? And generally, the sign on the outside of those doors isn't exactly what you're going to teach inside here. It's not your content. It's what outcome they want. So on the outside of that door, it's how to lose weight and get into the bikini that you've always wanted to fit back into in 60 days or less. They want that. But if you hang on the outside of the door, how to cut carbs out of your diet and how to exercise, 4 times a week, and how to restock your refrigerator with healthy foods, they're probably not opening that door, because that's not what they want. They want the outcome of all that stuff, right? So you've got to figure out what is it that they want to buy and then just give it to them. And then once you have them in the room, now you can teach them a lot of things they need to know, but you've got to offer it to them in a way that is attractive to them. Okay. So the details around here are so vast that it's not even possible for me to get into all the different variables here. Like I said, your people might be on Facebook, they might be offline, they might be reading newspapers, you might be doing radio shows, you might just be doing emails, you might be selling on Amazon. You might just be doing live seminars. There's so many different variables here, but no matter what the variables are, these are the 3 components. Where's your seeker? What do they want? Give it to them, period. And if you study them and what they want, they'll tell you what they want to buy. Now, when it comes to the actual invitation and what you're offering inside of your marketing, I want to simplify that, for you as well. Number 1, what is your solution? What is it that you're going to help them do? Are you going to help them go from overweight to slim? Are you going to help them go from, no confidence to supreme confidence? Are you going to help them go from struggling financially to building a multiple 6-figure, highly abundant coaching business or real estate business or whatever it is that you want to focus on? What is it that you're going to provide for them? What is your solution? And when you identify what your solution is, then you take a look at what are those big steps. What are the phases? What are the stages, whether they're sequential or just conceptual? What are the stages that somebody needs to go through from where they are right now to where it is that you're going to help them to what they're going to achieve, right? So you just focus on what are the big steps. There's generally 3 to 5 big steps that you're going to pace people through. And then inside of those 3 to 5 big steps, what are the mile markers inside of that? So it's like you're going to have 5 steps, and then underneath each step, you're going to have 3 to 5 little mile markers, or sort of sub bullets, right? And then what are the exercises that you're going to show people when you're going to walk people through on their way to the mile markers and on their way to these big steps? And this is really how you create your content. This is how you identify what the solutions are that your market really wants. And then what I teach, I spelled this wrong. That's going to irritate me. So hold on a second. You're going to see me change this slide. What I teach is to create what I call a content skeleton. And that content skeleton is a way for you to take all of those steps and all the mile markers and all the exercises and divide up your messaging content. So let's say you're going to walk people through 5 steps to creating a healthier body. Now you can do an article on those 5 steps. You can do a video on those 5 steps. You can do a webinar or a teleseminar on those 5 steps. You can do a mini article on the 1 step. Let's say the 1 step is to take inventory of why it is you want to lose weight in the first place. You can do a full article on just that. You can do and post it on your blog. You can do a video on just that. You can do a webinar on just that, right? Let's say step number 2 is to go through all your cupboards and throw away anything that has high sugar content. Great. You can do a video on that or a blog article or a webinar, right? So once you lay out all of these steps, what it does is it basically gives you a menu, or what I call this content skeleton, and it will then allow you to know how to message to your market. Hopefully this is making sense. This is a way for you to know what to say to go attract these people, right? Because you've taken the time to get to know who they are and you are really entering the conversation. And then once it's all broken down into all these different components, that's what you actually put out there. That's what you put out there on your social media. That's what you put out there on your blogs. That's what you put out there in your videos, etc. Regardless of what model you're using to get your message out there. That's how you create the content, right? So hope that makes sense to you. And now what I want to do is I want to teach you this market matrix. And this is a really cool way to add sort of an intellectual component to who it is that you should go after first. What seekers should you serve first? Okay. This market matrix is something that I do with my personal clients when they're struggling with, should I go after the athletes? Should I go after the home-based business owners? Should I go after the single moms? Who is it that I should go after? And so what you do is you basically fill in this matrix here. And let's say you have 4 markets. You write your 4 markets on the left-hand side there in the gray section. You write your 4 markets down. And let's just say your first market is athletes. Your second market, well, I'll use mine. Let's say one market is Mary Kay. Another market is coaches. Another market is speakers. And another market is parents, right? Mary Kay, coaches, speakers, and parents. Then what you do is you rate each one of those markets according to those 5 categories up there, but you rate them in order. So what that means is in each of those columns, you're going to have a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 according to the subject of each of those columns. So for instance, let's say in the money column, I'm going to ask myself, which of these markets can I make more money in? Is it Mary Kay, coaches, speakers, or parents? I think that I can make the most money in the coaching market. So I'm going to put a 1 next to coaching market. And then let's say I think I can make the second most amount of money in the speaking market. So I'm going to put a 2 next to the speaking market. And then I can make the third most amount of money in Mary Kay, and I can make the fourth most amount of money in parents. Now, if you don't know, then just do a little bit of research. And if you can't find the answer, then just go with your intuition, whatever your gut is telling you, right? So you've got a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I know that coaching is going to give me the biggest amount of income potential. And then the second one is, how long is it going to take to succeed, right? When I did this for myself, I already knew a lot about Mary Kay, so it was going to be very easy for me to succeed in the world of Mary Kay because I already know a lot about them. In the parenting market, I hadn't done a whole lot of research. I didn't know what they buy. I didn't know the conversation in their head. So it was going to take the most amount of time for me to learn in the parenting market. So for me, Mary Kay got a number 1, coaching got a number 2, speaking got number 3, and parents got number 4. So that was actually right down order 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Then the third column is how much confidence and knowledge do you have right now that you could teach? And for me, parenting actually was number one because I was a parent. I am a parent. And it was easy for me to just go by my daily experiences as a parent and just speak to it off the cuff. And speaking was number two for me. Mary Kay was coaching was number three. Mary Kay was number four. So it was in reverse order for me. Passion. That's hopefully self-explanatory. How passionate are you? What market are you the most passionate about? And then the next one, the final one, is ease or lifestyle. How easy will it be for you to create the lifestyle that you want? You know, for a lot of you, you might be going after a market where you can make a whole lot of money, but in order to make a whole lot of money, you've got to be tied to maybe your local community. You've got to do a lot of networking. Maybe you've got to do a lot of local events, and you don't want to just live in a specific area doing local events. You want to be traveling the world. Well, that market is not going to give you the kind of lifestyle that you want. So you need to take that into consideration. So then what happens is when you fill out this matrix, you're going to have a series of numbers. There's going to be a 1 through 4 in each one of these columns, and then you simply add them up. And whichever one scores the lowest, assuming you're using 1 as the best market in each of those categories, whichever one scores the lowest is probably the market that you should start with, because you want to stack the deck in your favor. You want to set yourself up to succeed as best you possibly can. And what this does for a lot of people is it gives them an intellectual way to say, you know what, I probably should go after that market, especially when there's a big gap. Like if one of your markets scores a 5 and the second leading market is 10, that's a big gap. Unless there's such a compelling reason not to, you should go after that market because you've got more of the components stacked in your favor, right? So hopefully this is making sense to you of how to use this market matrix. If this is making sense to you and you can see this being helpful, then just go ahead and type in, you know, that's me, whatever. Give me some kind of feedback there if it's making sense to you. Somebody says, should we draw this out or will we be able to get a template at the end of the class? You know what? I'll send that along with the seeker interview. I'll send both of these so that you have something that you can actually use, Dawn. Cool. Great. All right. Helpful. Awesome. Totally makes sense. Cool. Thank you for the feedback, you guys. All right. So the next piece here is multiplying. Now, I'm just going to speak to this briefly because you've got to be ready for this phase for us to go deep into it at all. But I'm going to give you 3 big chunks that I just want you to be conceptually prepared for. Now, you're not going to get into the multiplying phase to where you can really scale up your business until you do these other phases. And for you, you know, it might take 18 months before you can start multiplying. It might take 5 years. It might take 4 months. I don't know. It depends on a lot of different factors. So, you know, your trajectory is going to be different than the person sitting right next to you. And that's okay. But as long as you really just focus on the stage that you're in, you're going to be able to speed up your journey as much as you possibly can. Now, what you're looking for is something I alluded to earlier, is you're looking for a clicking point. And what I mean by a clicking point is when everything comes together and it clicks. You found your seeker, you know what they want, you know what they'll write a blank check for, you figured out how to market to them, you figured out how to message to them, you've got a platform going out, they're coming to you, they're you know, engaging on your blog or in your social media. You've got them on an email list. They're buying your stuff. You know, you've figured out how to sell, and you've got a lot of the variables lined up. You've got a good combination, and that's what I call the clicking point. And you focus on that clicking point in order to scale up, right? In order to multiply, you must simplify. In order to multiply, you must simplify. Now, that is counterintuitive to what most people think, but it's highly critical you get this piece. If you're going to scale up your business, you can only do that by simplifying, especially in the earlier stages. When you're able to grow and you're at, hundreds of thousands of dollars, moving towards millions of dollars, yeah, great. Now you can maybe grow broad as well, but you're still going to do it by following the simplification model. You're just going to duplicate what you've done inside of this simple model. And then you'll just build another simple model. And then you'll build another simple model. And all of these are related to each other. They stack on top of each other, but they're actually separate in terms of their focus. If you try to ride 8 horses at once, you're not going to go anywhere. A better way to do it is to sit on one horse and ride that horse until the finish line and then come back and get another horse. Once that horse is in motion and you can automate your business, now you can go get another horse and focus on riding them. So the first thing I want you to really focus on and be prepared for is automation. How can you automate the process? You should not move on to another project unless your first project is automated. That's a huge mistake that I made for probably 8 years in my business. I would build a house, and then once I was done with that house, I would leave that house alone and then go build another house. But while I was building the second house, I wasn't making any money from the first house because I didn't automate it. And in this world of technology and social media and online, it's really important, and it's not that difficult to create what we call evergreen campaigns and conversions, where once you find that clicking point, I want you to think of, how can I put this in automated motion? How can I take a webinar, maybe record it and have that webinar play so people can listen to my content even without me being there? Right now, as we speak, there are people somewhere around the world listening to me do another webinar that I recorded 2.5 years ago. Every single day, I have people listening to a webinar. And at the end of that webinar, there's a product being sold. So almost every single day, people are buying things. And I was in Hawaii for 5 days and I had people buying products on a webinar that I recorded years ago, but I automated it. So that's just an idea of how you can put something in motion using online technology like a webinar. That's not the only way you can do it, but that's one of the, just an idea, just so you kind of get the sense of what automation actually can be and can look like. So I want you to think, before I move on to project number 2, how can I automate project number 1? And then you'll stack upon your success instead of just replace your success. And that's a critical mistake that I made for 8 years of my business. I wasn't stacking on to anything. I was just replacing, and then I didn't have any automation. The next thing I want you to look at is systems. This is required if you're going to multiply. You need to look at your systems. Are your systems scalable? A lot of people's systems are not scalable. If you multiplied the number of sales that you had by 10, most coaches couldn't even fulfill that. So that means there's a system that's not scalable. You have to be able to multiply your sales, to multiply your community, to multiply your email list, and the system can still handle that. Now, the only way you're going to do it is with automation. That's, this first step. Then you look at, how can my systems contain scalability? And there are 3 main systems. You have people systems, which is where you might hire employees or hire independent contractors. You have process systems. That's where you've got automation in forms of, online programs. You've got automated emails going out. You've got software. You've got hardware. Those are processes. And then you've also got personal systems. And personal systems is probably the most important piece, and it's the one that a lot of people don't focus on. And when I'm talking about you as a person, your time management system, your internal belief barrier. Can you handle 10 times the level of success that you have now? Most people cannot handle that. They won't allow it. They won't tolerate it. So your belief barrier has to be able to grow with your income, has to be able to grow with the success of your business. Please don't forego this piece. You've got to continually grow yourself, especially in the coaching industry. And one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is how to spend their money as they get money coming in. How do they reinvest? I believe firmly that you reinvest in two things. You reinvest in support, whether it's a coach or whether it's technology support or whether it's mastermind groups. You reinvest highly in support that's going to support your systems growth, that's going to support your automation. So that could be reinvesting into a more robust, online customer retention process or customer relationship management system. It could be investing into better computer software or better computers, hardware, or it could be investing into coaches or mentors or communities. So investing into support is critical. And then the second thing, and this is not what most people will focus on, the second thing is investing in yourself, because your business cannot outgrow yourself. If it does, accidentally, it'll come crashing down, which is what happened to me in 2008 and 2009. And that's why I filed bankruptcy, because my business started to outgrow my own systems, and then my ego got involved and I tried to make a huge leap and it all came crashing down, right? So I want you to really invest in mentors and in systems and processes, to support your scalability, and then never ever stop investing in yourself. Never stop going to seminars, never stop getting private coaches, never stop investing in yourself, because that's what will pull your business up more than anything else, is as you release a lot of your belief barriers. And then the third thing I want you to focus on, I kind of alluded to it, although I didn't use this phrase, is vertical spiraling. And what I mean by that is when you stack your projects on top of each other, instead of building them side by side, like I was talking about, when I built one house and then built another house side by side, I want you to think about vertical building. So I want you to build one room, and then once you've got that automated, then build the second floor. Build one floor and then automate it, and then build a second floor, and then automate that, and then build a third floor. When you focus on automation vertically like that, now you can continue to expand your income and your influence, and you can create something magical with your business. But please don't try to do all of this stuff until you're ready, right? So those are the three main stages that I wanted to dive into today. Let me check the comments. Are there any more cool forms? The matrix is excellent. Cool. I'm glad you like that. Pare, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Will these webinars be available to listen again later? Maybe. Sometimes the recordings work and sometimes they don't. I am currently recording it. I don't know if it will get collected. So I will do the best I can. Cool. So everybody is just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So what I want to talk to you about now is really what's possible. And I'm going to make an invitation to you for those of you that want to go deeper with this work and really kick your learning into high gear and really take your business to a whole nother level. I want you to know what's possible in this industry. You can absolutely create a lucrative business. It's a fulfilling business in this coaching industry. You can create your own schedule. You've got a ton of freedom. You can charge as much as you want. One of my coaches, I paid $1,250 an hour, $1,250 an hour, and I happily paid that because the value she was giving me was well worth that. It was actually more than what I was paying her. Now that doesn't mean that everybody can charge $1,200 an hour, but she could, and I happily paid it because I was her perfect seeker. So you really do control your income if you do it the right way, and you can make a gigantic impact on the world. And hopefully that's really where you're coming from, that you're not just trying to make money. But if you're coming from the right place, listen, you can make a ton of money and you can create a lifestyle that's amazing. And I just want to share a few things, a few comments from a few people. Kelly Robbins from Michigan said that once she really got confident and she could hear these people having their aha moment, she could hear their self-talk start to become positive and watching their goals get set and actually starting to get achieved. She could see people's lives transform right before her eyes. And she said it's an amazing experience and she's fully addicted. And I totally agree with Kelly. This is an addicting process when you start helping people, transform their lives. Kelly from Ireland says that she was totally new to the world of personal development, not just coaching, but personal development in general. And she still says she doesn't understand why she listened to this little voice inside her head that persuaded her to sign up for a 5-day certification program 5,000 miles away from home. Notice she's in Ireland. But in hindsight, I've never been so glad that I've gone with my gut instinct. And to say this is a life-changing program is a total understatement. That's Kelly from Ireland. And I want to speak to that for a moment because Kelly was willing to get radical, and a lot of people are not. A lot of people are only committed to their goals inside of their convenience. They're only committed to their goals if it's convenient for them. Your biggest dreams don't live inside of your level of convenience. They don't live inside of your convenience zone. And most people aren't willing to get radical. Most people aren't willing to get resourceful. Most people aren't willing to do something huge in order to get what they always want. And that's why most people don't ever even come close to achieving what they want in life. You know, we're talking about your goals. We're talking about your dreams. If those aren't worth taking a risk to you, then those are not your goals and dreams. Those are just wishes. Those are just your convenient wishes. And if somebody knocks on your door and hands it to you, you'll accept it. But most people won't chase it down. Most people won't do whatever it takes to go after it because they're still trying to live inside their convenience zone. And you have to decide what you're more committed to. Are you more committed to your comfort, or are you more committed to your growth and your success? Whichever one you're more committed to, act like it. See, most people will scream from the mountaintop, I am fully committed to change my life. But inside, in reality, only if they don't have to pay for anything, only if everything is free, only if they don't have to travel anywhere, only if they can do it in the next 12 hours, only if it's going to be easy and it's not going to cause any bumps and bruises and scrapes. Then they're fully committed to changing their life. Unfortunately, the size of that group of people is immense. There are very few people in comparison that are actually willing to take action toward their goals. And I invite you to be one of those people that are willing to do everything it takes in order to get your goals. And understand, you know, this road towards success, it's not an easy one, but it's worth it. Please don't be searching for the simple road and think that you're going to change your life in the process and help other people change their lives in the process. It's not going to happen. You've got to be willing to do what it takes. All right, I'm off my soapbox here. But Kelly was willing to do what it takes. And she's coming back out here next month to get more training from Ireland, you guys. From Ireland. Thousands of dollars of expenses. She's willing to get radical, to be inconvenient because her dreams are bigger than her convenience. Her commitment to her growth is bigger than her commitment to her comfort. So that's one of the most important questions that you can ever ask yourself. What are you more committed to? And then act like it. Jen Wensky is somebody that said when she followed the step-by-step format, you know, she was able to figure out her target market, determine her mission statement, map out her coaching packages, create a framework, and then she did a lot of these seeker interviews that I mentioned. After only 6 seeker interviews, she had 3 new clients. So whoever asked earlier, I think it was Lauren, asked, how can I go out and get new clients? One of the best ways you can do it is go do seeker interviews because people will naturally ask you, you know, can you help me? Do you do this? Do you have a coaching program? You don't have to pitch them on anything. When you really identify what it is they want and you come from a place of curiosity, they'll ask you if you can help them achieve some of those things that you just pulled out of them. So Jen got 3 new clients in 6 seeker interviews. So go do that. That's one of the best things you can do. And then she had a sold out seminar. She said in her first 2 months as a life coach, she made over $6,000. Now that's not life changing, oh my God, buy a bigger house, you know, story. But your first 2 months of a new endeavor to make $6,000, that's more than I made my first 4 months. That's pretty darn good. And Jen created something foundational. And now she actually coaches. And she's really stepped up her game. And the final one I want to share with you is a woman named Pooja from India. Another lady was willing to get radical and come out here from India. And she said she doubled her income. She spoke to over 1,200 people. But outside the business, this is what really warms my heart. She had freedom. She took a 15-day vacation. She overcame a lot of her fears, like bungee jumping and skydiving. But what she cherishes the most is becoming a better parent, becoming a better wife, becoming a better daughter, and living in joy. That's what this industry is all about. It's about helping people change their life foundationally and fundamentally. And in that process, you're going to change your life foundationally and fundamentally. And that's what I want for you if you're here wanting to join the ranks, if you will, of people who have become successful coaches. Most coaches are not successful. Most businesses are not successful, and the coaching business is no different. Most coaches are not successful because they don't do it the right way. They try to jump ahead. They try to do the quick fix. They try to build a business without investing any money. They try to build a business without learning from other people who've done it before them. They have these demands that their first endeavor has to make $10,000, and they just have they're messed up. They're disorganized internally, and that's why they struggle. And struggle leads to hesitation. If you hesitate long enough, that's called quitting. And that's what a lot of coaches do. And why I get sad about that is not because that's another coach that could have done something incredibly well and they didn't build their business. I get sad because that's another seeker out there that won't get helped. That's where I really focus. So what coaches need in this industry is they need confidence in their coaching abilities. They need certainty in the results they can produce. They need tools and exercises to use with their clients. They need a clear framework to follow, and they need coaching mastery on all levels. Now, that is a very quick recap of what I taught a lot of in session number 1 about how to have that confidence and certainty as a coach so that you can have the magnetic draw and you can message properly so that people are interested in hiring you as a coach. Unless you have that, it's going to be very difficult for you to create a business. Now, what I want to invite you to, for those of you who are, who this is really speaking to, I want you to consider joining our elite coaching certification program. So that's kind of phase 1 of getting that confidence as a coach and really identifying who you are, creating certainty, learning the tools. A lot of coaches are afraid to hire or to get hired really and to sell coaching packages because they don't know what to do with people. And I want to teach you over a 5-day period what you can do with people when they've hired you as a coach, and that'll give you a lot of confidence. It'll change your energy around your marketing, around your messaging. So we've got 2 certification programs coming up. One of them is very soon. It's November 8th through the 12th. It's Southern California. That actually starts on a Sunday. It's a Sunday through Thursday, and that's because Motivating the Masses has another event starting on Friday that we don't want to overlap with. And then we also have a Monday through Friday in January 4th through the 8th. They're both in Southern California, somewhere between Los Angeles and San Diego. Neither one is absolutely finalized, but you'll probably be flying into Los Angeles Airport if this is something that you want to attend. It's going to be well over 40 hours of in-the-room instruction. It's an intimate event. There's going to be no more than about 20 people at each of the events so that we can keep it intimate, so that we can work one-on-one with people that need to be worked one-on-one with, so that we can spend a whole lot of time guiding, mentoring. And these events are so powerful because you're going to experience this learning on 3 levels. You're going to experience the when you see, me talking about the coaching tools and me doing demonstrations with other people, you're going to see it from a modeling perspective. Then you're going to get coached in the room by people who are practicing on you, and then you're going to practice as the coach. So you're going to have 3 levels of learning. And a lot of people said by the end of these 5 days, their whole life has changed. That's why Kelly said, that their whole experience was life-changing, because in 5 days of transformation, you're going to be going through so many processes from those 3 different levels that at the end of those 5 days, a lot of people honestly at the end of the 5 days go, I can't come up with a problem anymore. Like, I'm supposed to come up with a problem to do another coaching exercise, but I can't come up with a problem because we've handled them all. And I'm not promising that's going to happen to everybody, but that does happen for some people because the learning is so deep. It's really transformational in the process itself, in how we teach it, in the way that we teach it, in the way that we layer on. So it's a deep learning experience. It's a deep dive, and we're really focused on mastery. I don't want you to memorize certain things. I want you to understand what coaching is all about. And I want to teach you everything that I possibly can inside of 5 days that I've learned in my 10 years of experience. And you're going to get 2 coaching certifications after this 5-day event. Now, somebody asked earlier, is it important to have a certification? I say absolutely yes. And I don't say that because I want you to come to my certification. I mean, I do want you to if this is speaking to you, but that's not why I say this. You need a certification not to impress people, not because your prospects are going to ask you what your certification is. I've only been asked about my certification about 10 times in 10 years, and not ever from somebody who was looking to hire me as a coach. Those were all other coaches who wanted to compare their certifications with mine, right? That's how that's the only way that I've ever been asked, the only environment that I've ever been asked about certifications. Because when you really understand your seeker and you speak their language and you understand the conversation that's going on in their head, and they know that you get them, they know that you identify with them, that you understand them, and you've clearly laid out how you can help them, they're not going to care where you went to school, because they want you to help them, and you've already demonstrated that you can help them. Now, I say, though, that certification is important so that you're a good coach. I actually think it's fraudulent to go try to build a coaching business when you are not certified at a high level as a coach. Now, one of the good things about coaching from one perspective is it's not a highly regulated industry. You don't have to pass some board certification process like you do with therapy and counseling and, becoming a lawyer. But that's also a bad thing, because there's a lot of people who just throw their hat on the ring, in the ring, put their shingle out, if you will, and say, I'm now a coach. And they're doing people a disservice because they haven't studied the game. And if you're not willing to study the art of coaching, then you're never going to be a transformational coach. You've got to be a geek on some level. You've got to be a coaching geek. You've got to be a personal development geek if you want to be the best transformational coach that you can possibly be. So that's who I'm speaking to right now, people that want to be truly transformational agents. And if that's you, then consider this program, and you're going to get 2 certifications coming out of this program. And it's also step 1 of becoming a Motivating the Masses certified coach. Now, I'm not going to promise you that we even have the capacity right now to open up our program to take on more certified coaches under Motivating the Masses. Now, what that program entails is there's a second level of certification, and there's a much bigger process for you to coach on behalf of Motivating the Masses. And when that happens, then we would actually send you clients that we don't have the capacity to coach. But that's another bigger process in itself, and we only are going to open that up maybe once or twice a year. But I can tell you, the only people we will consider for being Motivating the Masses certified coaches and people that we're going to hand clients to are people who've gone through these 5-day programs, or this one of these 5-day programs. So if that's something that you might want to consider doing in the future, then go ahead and go through one of our certification programs, so when we do open it up again, you're ready to go, right? So that's what step 1 means for a Motivating the Masses certified coach. Now, at this 5-day event, we're going to cover a ton, how the brain learns and develops. We're going to talk about the 7 stages of human learning. We're talking about communicating with the unconscious mind, because if you want to be a transformational coach, you've got to understand the unconscious mind, because that's where most people's blocks are. It's at the unconscious level. We're going to talk about something called meta programs and meaning filters, and how people can shift their meaning filters and change their life. We talk about strategies, which are basically habits and patterns that people have. We talk about language. People's beliefs are really represented inside their language. And if you want to be a transformational coach, you got to become a language cop. we talk about the 15 components of commitment, which is at the core of transformation. See, most people don't have a discipline problem or a focus problem or a skill set problem. Most people have a commitment problem. So we have to help people learn how to commit, right? And then we'll talk about some of the intangibles of coaching. And all of that is really inside of the neuro-linguistic curriculum, neuro-linguistic programming curriculum. So we're going to give you these certifications, and we're going to teach you a lot of neuro-linguistic programming tools. And neuro-linguistic programming, for my money, is the most powerful breakthrough set of tools out there. Now, if this is speaking to you, we always love to add on a few bonuses. We're going to give you some FAT bonuses, which stands for Fast Action Taker bonuses. So for those of you that jump on board, you're going to get immediate access to my full-time coach project. Now, what that is, an audio program, it's 16 modules over 24 hours of the marketing side of building your coaching business. We go a lot deeper into the foundational stuff that I alluded to today, and really get you ready. But we also get into some of the other marketing components. We get into the social media. We get into how to create a platform, how to market with videos, how to market with articles. We get into how to market offline, how to market online, paid traffic, unpaid traffic, building your platform, how to create a name for you inside your local communities. Like, we really get into a lot of the marketing stuff as well inside that program. And that's a program I did a few years ago, and you'll get immediate access to that, so you can start learning from that right away. You'll also get, when it's available, it's not available yet, you'll also get my 6-figure launch blueprint. I haven't created the full program yet, but this is based on a 6-figure launch campaign that I did in the Mary Kay world, selling a $200 coaching program to a ton of people, and over 500 people bought it. So we generated well over $100,000. And when you add in the backside of the campaign, it's nearly $200,000. But I want to teach you the blueprint for creating launches when that program is available. So you'll get a ticket when it's available, and when I do it live, it'll be a $200 or $2,000 program rather. You'll also get 2 mastermind calls with me and Susie Carter, who's the Chief Operating Officer with Motivating the Masses. That's $1,000 value. And for the first 5 people that jump in, I want to speak to you personally. You're going to get a one-on-one call with me personally, and that's worth nearly $1,000. And we can do that call soon, or we can wait until you're deeper into the program. So the value of these bonuses are nearly $5,000. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a bonus here. So let me add this right on the screen. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to say, for the first 10 people that jump in, I'm going to give you access to the 300K Blueprint group coaching program. Now, that's a program that's going to start in the next few months, and it's like the full-time coach project updated, right? With a lot of things that are available now that weren't available back then, in social media, online, etc. And we're getting ready to sell that program here at a live event that we're going to do for $5,000, basically $4,997. So I'm going to add that on here. And so if I add that on, it ends up being 9,000, I think like 897 if I do my math correctly. So it's nearly $10,000 in additional bonuses. When we sell this 300K Blueprint at our live event, for people that join the certification program, we're going to sell it at a discounted rate of half price, basically $2,500. But for those of you that are listening to the webinar, I'm going to sweeten the pot for you, and I want you to get in, and I want to give you access to that program for no additional cost. Completely a free bonus on top of your investment. So the investment of this 5-day certification program, first of all, the value, once we really get going and we create a bigger platform, this is a relatively new venture for us. Once we create a bigger platform, and we can compare it to some of the other bigger platforms out there, the bigger names out there, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 coaching programs. So the value of this program, we're estimating it at $10,000. The investment is just short of $5,000. So $4,995 if you pay in full. There is a 3-part payment plan as well, which is $1,695 if that's going to be a better option for you. And now one thing you have to understand though is whatever event you choose to go to, whether it's November or January, you've got to make sure that you're paid in full. So if you choose the payment option and you want to show up in November, you're going to have to speed up that payment process in order for the whole thing to be paid in full before you show up in November. So those are the options. And in order to register, you've got to go to this website, elitecoachinguniversity.com/ECCP. And let me do this. Let me type this in. I'm going to type this into the chat here. And this should come to you actually as a clickable link. I just sent it off to everybody. So you should be able to just click that link, ECCP. And I'm going to also make this, I don't know, offer a declaration. You know, if this is something that you want to do, then you owe it to yourself to figure out a way to do it. And if these payments aren't going to work for you and you've got a bold request of us, then go ahead and make your bold request. Email me and I'll tell you where to email me, because this is where you get the seeker interview as well as the market matrix. I'm going to add that on there. So when you email me, I want you to put seeker interview and market matrix, please. I want you to add that subject line to your email and send it to Sean@motivatingthemasses.com. Sean@motivatingthemasses.com. And if you have a bold request of me as far as questions about the program or payment plans or anything like that, then go ahead and shoot. And I just sent my email address to everybody as well. So you should see that in the chat session. So let me go back to this slide so that you can see where to go if this is really speaking to you. And we'd love to have you. We're not in the business of talking you into doing something, but if your heart says yes, if you know that this is your next step, then figure out a way to make it happen. I don't want you to stretch so much that you are in financial ruin, but remember, your dreams are not going to come inside of your convenience. And if it's going to take a little bit to clear your schedule and to find the money or make the money or ask for the money or borrow the money or whatever, you know what? If you find that you have this calling to create a service-based business that helps a lot of people, then make it happen. It's just as simple as that. And so we invite you to say yes to yourself if this is speaking to you. If it's not speaking to you, then I also invite you to don't even give it a second thought. Close the door. Hopefully you've gotten some good content here on this webinar that will help push you forward either right now or as you continue to build your business. And if it's not speaking to you, listen to whether you actually want to do this or not. If it's not speaking to you, then say no. If it is speaking to you, then let's play together. So let me comb through some of these questions. If you do have any questions now of anything at all, then go ahead and type them in. And if you sent a question earlier, then I'd invite you to type it in again now. Somebody says I can't see your email address, so I'm going to send my email address to everybody in the questions section as well. So hopefully that will get to you. What if it is not the payments but the dates? You're going to Breakthrough 116. So if you're going to Breakthrough the Retreat 116, I don't have another way other than saying, like, this is going to sound kind of insensitive, but make it happen. There's not an overlap in the dates. I do get it that you're attending 2 basically week-long seminars, but when I got certified in my coaching, I went to 3 weeks in a row, and my wife had just had our son. So my wife was at home with a newborn, and I went, and a daughter, who was a toddler at the time, but I was the type of person, like, I just wanted it all now. I wanted to get it all done now. So if you're open to that, then going through the certification and then going to breakthrough, a week later will be powerful. And I don't know where you live, if that means you got to stay out here, for 3 weeks, or you just leave for a week and then come back for the second week of breakthrough. Then I just invite you to make it happen. If this is really speaking to you, then make it happen. Or if you can, join us in November and you're concerned about doing so much traveling back to back, then then focus on getting here in November. For those not from California, do you provide a list of hotels and transportation? Yes, absolutely. Althea will give you all kinds of information that you need to make this an easy, maybe not easy emotionally, that's up to you, but to make it simple, to get your hotels, you can find a roommate. We're going to take care of you with all those details and make it as simple of a process as you possibly can. Carol says, how many steps or levels in the MTM program after step 1? There's really only one more step, Carol, but it's generally about a 6 to 8 month process where we guide you along the fingerprint of our company. You volunteer at some of our events. You come into our office for another deep dive 3-day training. You do a lot of practice coaching with a mentor coach. So there's a long process that's really important because we have to protect our brand. That's really important for us before we put our stamp of approval on somebody, for us to say, this is somebody that really understands the heartbeat of motivating the masses. This is somebody that we trust with our clients. So I'm sure you understand why that process is a pretty extended process. So that's what it looks like. Please, can we see the what coaches need slide again? Sure. That's not what I wanted to do. What coaches need. Let's see, what coaches need right here. I'll put that up here just for a little bit, and then I'll probably go back to the other slide. What coaches need. Money tree lost all its leaves. If your money tree lost all its leaves, plant a new tree. There's a part of personal development that's just called make it happen. If it's important enough, you just make it happen. If you're convicted enough, you make it happen. If you've predetermined that that broke is a circumstance, but it's not who you are, then you make it happen. Right? Now, there might be some things that you have to do to get out of your way first, and some blocks that you need to clear, and so maybe you need to do some personal coaching first. If that's the case, then do that first, but don't let your circumstances determine your destiny. Just because the money tree has lost all of its leaves right now doesn't mean that you don't have the ambition, you don't have the willpower, you don't have the possibility, that you don't have the strength as a human being to plant a new tree and grow new leaves immediately. If you're a parent and your children were going to die unless you had $10,000 in cash and $1 bills by the stroke of midnight tonight, you'd make that happen because it's important enough. So please don't ever underestimate your ability to create success. Everybody has the ability. Most people just don't have enough of a desire. Most people don't have enough awareness about what the consequences are. So let's see if there's any other questions that are related to the conversation here. How do you get someone to give you their personal time to answer your secret interview? This is going to sound maybe insensitive, but you ask them. I never had anybody turn me down. I just said, hey, I'm starting a new venture here, and I'm really wanting to help new coaches build a business. And so I'm doing some market research. So if you wouldn't mind, could I just spend maybe 15, 20 minutes of your time and pick your brain? And they all said yes. You'd be amazed at how many people will want to help, even if they're busy. Yeah, great. You can say, I know you're busy, but could you just help me out? You'd be amazed at how many people will help, and that trumps their busyness, because people want to help. They just want to help out, especially if there are people that know you. So just approach them from that perspective and that place of service, and ask. I will push that line to make it in January. Awesome. Great. How does this apply to those in February MTS? I haven't gotten certified. Oh, in FEP MTS. I'm not sure what FEP is. I haven't gotten certified in FEP. I want to complete. So let me know what that is, Laureen. I might not understand what the abbreviation there. Charlie says, what's the final deadline? There's really no hard and fast final deadline that says you have to get in by this certain date, but the deadline might be in the next few days depending on how many people jump in. So if we have 20 slots full, then there's no more seats. And if that happens by this Friday, then that happens. If there are 17 people in the course and the course starts tomorrow and you decide you want to do it, then we can let you in. So there's really no, I will never be one to create false urgency. You've got a lot of people who I think are doing a disservice to the coaching industry and sales in general, and they just make up BS urgency. They go, well, the deadline is Friday, and really the deadline's not Friday. They're just trying to create this frenetic energy and trying to get people to say yes out of their urgency rather than it being the right decision for them. I'm not interested in you making an urgent decision. I'm interested in you making the right decision. Now, I will say this, that across the board, one characteristic that every successful person has is quick decision making. Successful people are decisive. So if you want to do this and you sit there and waffle on it and you allow your brain to come up with reasons why you shouldn't do it, then if that's a pattern that you run in your life, I can promise you're not very successful. Because successful people don't get an idea, they don't decide that they want to do something and then sit there and let their fears then take a hold of that idea and find all the reasons why they shouldn't do it. Because your fears will do that. Your fears will find reasons why you shouldn't do it. And if you look for reasons why you shouldn't do it, you're going to find a ton of them because it's not convenient, because you have to take time out of your day, because it costs money to travel, because you have to, get a hotel and you don't like traveling alone, because it costs $4,995 to invest into your dreams. And that's way too much. You don't have $4,995 sitting in your bank account. Well, you know what? I'm going to be really brutally honest with you guys. The first seminar I went to cost about $4,000. And the reason I went to it is because I didn't have $4,000. I heard the small voice inside of me go, I don't have $4,000, so I can't go to this seminar. And then I heard another voice inside of me go, yeah, well, maybe that's why you need to change what you're doing. It was as if there was a secondary voice speaking to me that said, well, that's probably why you're not happy in your life. And there's a problem for you to be 32 years old and not have $4,000 in your bank account. So maybe you need to do something different. Maybe you need to do something that you've never done before. I swear to you guys, I had a voice inside of me that caught that small thinking and said, the fact that you don't have $4,000 is the reason you probably need to do this. And I signed up. And then I asked my wife later if it was okay that I signed up. But there was just this piece inside of me that knew I need to change the recipe because I'm not happy with the fact that I don't have $4,000 sitting in my bank account. So sometimes the very reason that we first see that we first find as why we shouldn't do it is the bigger reason why we need to do it, because we need to change our recipe. Now again, I'm not trying to talk you into this. If this isn't speaking to you, then don't do it. But please, please don't allow the fear-based thoughts in your mind keep you stuck for the rest of your life. Because if you do, there will be a point in time where you look back with regret. I know that at the end of our lives, we're not going to ask ourselves how much money we collected. We're not going to ask ourselves whether we achieved, the certain tangible goals. We're going to ask ourselves, did we go for our dreams? That's the single most important question that we're going to ask ourselves. And if we can say yes, then we will be able to look back on our life with contentment. But if we can't say yes, if we can say, if all that we're left with is, I let my fears hold me back more than I let my dreams fuel me, more than I let my goals drive me, if I listen to the fear inside my head more than the whispers inside my heart, then you're going to look back with regret. I promise you. That's what I am more concerned with for my life and for everybody that I try to touch, is how can you live a life according to the dreams of your heart, not according to the fears inside your head. And whether you decide to take this coaching program or you decide to take another coaching program, or you just take that mentality and apply it to a different investment decision that doesn't have anything to do with Sean Smith or motivating the masses, that's great. If that's all you came here to get, that's great. I'm happy. But some of you need to aggressively attack the small-minded thinking that is controlling your life right now. You need to aggressively attack it, because those fears have one outcome, and that is to keep you stuck right in the middle of your comfort zone. Your fears will never drive you to your goals unless it's the fear of staying the same, unless it's the fear of playing small, unless it's the fear of not living up to your life's potential. Unless that's the kind of fear you're listening to, then your fears will keep you right in the middle of your comfort zone. And nobody ever accomplished anything significant by listening to their fears. In fact, most people accomplish what is amazingly significant in their life by acting in the face of their fears. So please, whether you decide to play with us or not, please don't allow your fears to keep you hostage for the rest of your life, while your heart is whispering, but I wish I could do this, but I know there's more inside of me, but I know there's people I can help. Don't you dare let your heart sit there underneath all the weight of your fears and let your dreams die. Don't you dare give more attention to the fears that live in your head that are based on what if it fails, when your heart doesn't care if it fails. Your heart just wants to try. Did you go for it? That is the biggest commitment that I want you to have in your life. Did you go for it? Or are you going to be one of the people, with the vast majority of the people that are going to their grave with unspent potential, with music still inside of them, because they didn't have the guts to fight through their fears? They didn't have the guts to attack that small-minded thinking. And so that small-minded thinking controlled their life. Don't be one of them. And if that gets you into our 5-day event, great. If that gets you into somebody else's 5-day event that resonates more with you, great. I just hope that helps you live your life more committed to your heart than your fears. So we've been on the line here for about an hour and 15 minutes. I really appreciate all of you who showed up. I want to know, how many of you have been here from the beginning? If you've been here from the beginning, then I want you to type in, just type in me. Just type in me. And I want to really acknowledge you. Ehi says yes. Leslie, Militia, Keisha, Deneen, Evelyn, Tammy, Carmen, Mariquez, Kanisha, Thomas, Stephanie, Roger, Nicole, Anish, Jordy, Renee, Marty, Naja, holy cow, Karen, Felicia, Donna, Teresa, Janet, Laureen, Pamela, Don, Maria, another Leslie, Renee, Billy, Danielle, Cha-Cha, Ruby, Stevens, Marquez, Rita, Jenna, Billy, Althea, Julie, Imelda, Lee, Farzana, Fabiana. Holy cow. I don't even think I caught everybody, but that inspires me so much. That inspires me that you have invested nearly 2 hours of your life into this content. And if this is as far as you and I and you and Motivating the Masses are going to go, then I hope we've blessed you with something that's going to help you along your path in life and your path in your coaching journey. If you know that this is a call that you need to answer, that there's a stirring inside of your spirit, inside of your heart, and you know that this is your next step to get your message into the world, to get the confidence as well as the marketing support to build this business, to create the impact, to leave a mark, to make a difference with the people that you know you're being called to serve, if you know that this is your next step, then jump in. And if that's you, then I can't wait to meet you either in November or in January, whichever fits best for you. I can't wait to lock arms with you, to teach you everything that we possibly can, to help support you and guide you in this next phase of your journey. So, with that, everyone, I want to wish you a fantastic rest of your evening. If you do have more questions that I just breezed through and I didn't get a chance to go through because there were hundreds of questions through there, go ahead and email me, Sean at motivatingthemasses.com, SEAN at motivatingthemasses.com. And I wish you all the best on your journey, whether I am a part of that or not. Take care, everyone. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.